right, so today I am going to go over reflexive verbs with you. A verb is reflexive when the subject of the sentence and the object of the sentence are the same. So a good way to remember reflexive verbs is to think, is the subject talking about him or herself? And is that person, the subject of the sentence, receiving the action? All right, so here are a few verbs that you will need to know. And I'm going to have you guys refer back to your reflexive verb list with this module. You have verbs like poner, llamar, bañar, vestir, relajar, preparar, acostar, ir, and levantar. And what you should notice here is that there's a mixture of different types of verbs here. Hopefully you recognize some of them may be new, but you'll have verbs like preparar, that's a regular AR verb. Hopefully you remember that it means to prepare. Verbs like llamar, meaning to call. You've seen it before, and it's a regular AR verb. And poner, it's an irregular go verb. All right, then you have verbs like vestir, which is a stem-changing verb. Acostar, again, a stem-changing verb. So with reflexive verbs, if you're learning these, you're going to notice that it is a mixture of regular AR, IR, ER verbs, irregular yo and go verbs, and you're also going to have your stem-changing verbs that are used reflexively. So then what makes a verb reflexive? If you look now, the screen has changed, and on each verb, you have an SE at the end of each verb. This is what makes a verb reflexive. The SE at the end of the verb is called a reflexive pronoun. Okay? So you'll take each of these verbs and you'll rearrange that SE, and it will be part of the sentence, but you're going to conjugate these verbs as you normally would otherwise. A few more other helpful reflexive verbs are going to be despertarse, cepillarse, secarse, peinarse, afeitarse, y maquillarse. Despertarse means to wake oneself up. So you wake up in the morning. Yo me despierto. Cepillarse, to brush oneself. Secarse, to dry oneself. Peinarse, to brush oneself. Afeitarse, to shave oneself. And maquillarse, to make up oneself. All right, so let me go over a few of these verbs, focusing on cepillar and peinarse, because both of these verbs, if you look at them, both mean to brush oneself. So while cepillarse can be used pretty much interchangeably, so you can use cepillarse to state that you brush your teeth, okay? You would often hear someone say, yo me cepillo los dientes, the teeth, all right? Or it can be used to state that you brush your hair, all right? Yo me cepillo el pelo. So cepillar can be used to say that you brush your teeth or your hair. Then we have peinarse, which means to brush. And what I want you guys to note is that while they both mean to brush, cepillarse is going to be used mainly for your hair. Okay, you're not going to use that to say that you brush your teeth. You'll never hear someone say, yo me cepillo, or I'm sorry, yo me peino los dientes. That's incorrect and weird. And notice that when I said it the first time, I automatically went with cepillar because that's what comes mostly natural to me. So peinarse is going to be used when you're talking about brushing your hair. All right. And then we have maquillarse, to make up oneself. So there's a noun in Spanish, maquillaje, which means makeup. It's a noun. And then here's the verb version. So the act of putting makeup on oneself would be maquillarse. So if you're like me, yo no maquillo, yo no me maquillo, yo no me maquillo todos los días. All right, so make sure that you've written some of these verbs down and that you refer to them throughout the week, because you're going to hear and use them quite a bit. All right, so with reflexive verbs comes reflexive pronouns. I would pause the video and write these down. All right, so you've learned a couple of pronouns since you started Spanish. Hopefully you remember what a subject pronoun is. Subject pronouns are the words that replace proper nouns, and they are the subject of the sentence. So you could say yo, or if you're talking about your dad and his name is Ricky, you take Ricky out and put he, él. All right. So they kind of correlate. They follow that same pattern where this would correlate with the yo form and this would correlate, they would correlate with the tu form. They kind of, if you were to draw a chart, they follow that pattern, except these are reflexive pronouns, so they go with your reflexive verbs. You have me, meaning myself. Te, meaning yourself. Se, meaning himself, herself, or the formal yourself. Nos, meaning ourselves. Os, meaning yourselves, or yourselves. Se, notice that it's the same in third person all the way across. We have se, plural, and se, singular, it's the same. So se, themselves, or yourselves. All right? All right, so these reflexive pronouns will get used along with the reflexive verbs. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, so let's take bañarse, for example. We're going to conjugate bañarse together. So in order to conjugate the verb, you're going to do like you've normally done. These are your subject pronouns. Okay, we're not going to quit using subject pronouns, so hopefully you guys at this point are familiar with them. Yo, meaning I, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, or ustedes. All right, so in order to conjugate the verb, you're going to do like you normally would. You're going to drop the AR, and in this case, you're going to drop the AR and the SE, and you're going to conjugate the verb as you normally would. And bañar is a regular AR verb, so it has its regular endings. You have yo baño, tú bañas, ella baña, nosotros bañamos, vosotros bañáis, ellas bañan. All right, so in order to make the verb reflexive, we've conjugated the verb normally, we've dropped the AR, and now the SE here that we had at the end of the verb is going to get rearranged, and it's going to be put between the subject and in front of the verb. So you're going to take that and you're going to put in your reflexive pronouns. The SE will change to me in the yo form to correlate with the yo form. So now you have yo me baño. I bathe myself. Tú te bañas. You bathe yourself. Hopefully that's a true statement. Ella se baña. She bathes herself. Nosotros nos bañamos. We bathe ourselves. Vosotros os bañáis. You all bathe yourself. Ellas se bañan. They bathe themselves. Without the reflexive pronoun, if you just use yo baño, you would need a direct object. So maybe you bathe your dog. Yo baño, and then you could put mi perro at the end of that. That is not a reflexive sentence because there's no reflexive pronoun, and the person receiving the action would be the dog. All right, so in order to create reflexive sentences, you would need to follow this word order, this formula, I guess you could call it, where you have the subject, the reflexive pronoun, the verb in its conjugated form, and then whatever else you're trying to say in the sentence. So if you look at this sentence below, you have the man, who is the subject of the sentence, does not, and that's our negative. So if we're creating a negative statement, and this is where I would note that. So if you have a negative statement that's going to go in front of the verb, the man does not bathe himself, right? So if we were to create this sentence in Spanish, we're going to follow that formula, and you would have el señor no, again, that negative is usually going to go right in front of the verb, no se baña. No se baña. So you have the reflexive pronoun and then the verb in its conjugated form. All right, el señor no se baña. All right, one more verb that I would like to cover with you guys is llamarse. So believe it or not, you've been using reflexive verbs since the beginning of Spanish 1. Do you guys remember the question that your teacher would have asked you? Something along the lines of, ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? That question, meaning What do you call yourself? Or what's your name? In Spanish, we would use this verb to state what our names are. You could say, mi nombre es, my name is, but it's more common that you'll hear, me llamo. All right? So when you're asking that question, you would need to be able to conjugate this verb, drop the AR in the se, and you would conjugate it normally. And again, llamar is a regular AR verb. So yo llamo, I call, tú llamas, él o ella llama, nosotros llamamos, vosotros llamáis, ellas llaman. And then you would add the reflexive pronoun that correlates with the subject to create the sentence. Yo me llamo, and then your name. So here's the question again. ¿Cómo te llamas? Hopefully you answered with yo me llamo in your name. Here's another question. ¿Cómo se llama tu mamá? ¿Cómo se llama tu mamá? Hopefully you answered this question with mi mamá se llama, or ella se llama, and her name. So you've been using reflexive verbs all along. You just weren't taught that it was a reflexive verb at the time. So hopefully this makes a lot more sense to you. All right, so we're going to practice a little bit. ¿A qué hora te despiertas cada día? ¿A qué hora te despiertas cada día? So when we're looking at this question, there's a few parts to it. Hopefully you guys can pull the verb out of the question. Can you see if you can figure out which word is the verb in the question? Hopefully you were able to see that it's the verb despertarse, to wake up, or to wake oneself up. Despertarse. Look at the verb in its infinitive form, and now look at the verb in the question. What do you notice? ¿A qué hora te despiertas cada día? Hopefully you're able to see that despertarse is a stem-changing verb. It is an E to IE stem-changing verb. Can you guys hear that spelling change in the verb? Te despiertas. All right, so the next part of this question that you need to be able to answer is telling time. So hopefully you remember from Spanish 1 in the review that we did in the first part of this class that said is usually used to tell time. If somebody's asking you what time it is, ¿qué hora es? But this question is not exactly asking what time it is. It's saying at what time. It has this preposition a in it. A meaning at. All right. So in order to answer this question, you have to be able to use these phrases, a las or a la. And just like with the verb said, you have son las and es la. You have a las for the times between 2 and 12, a.m. or p.m., and you have a la for 1 o'clock. A few other phrases that might be helpful are going to be de la mañana, de la tarde, y de la noche, meaning in the morning, in the evening, and at night. All right, so in order to answer this question, ¿a qué hora te despiertas cada día? At what time? And the verb is to wake up. So at what time do you, it's conjugated in the do form, at what time do you wake yourself up cada día, every day? I wake up at 6:30 in the morning. All right, so in order to create this sentence then, you would change the verb to fit the subject. It would look like this. Yo me despierto a las 6:30 de la mañana. Yo me despierto a las 6:30 de la mañana. Here's another one. ¿A qué hora te acuestas en la noche? Are you able to pull the verb out of the question? Right. So the verb is acostarse. Acostarse. Here it is conjugated. Notice that it, as well as despertarse, is a stem-changing verb. Can you tell what stem change it has? It has an O to UE stem change. So the question is asking, ¿A qué horas te acuestas en la noche? At what time do you lay down or lay yourself down at night? Pause the video and try to answer this question. Hopefully you got this format. Me acuesto. You're changing it to the yo form because you're talking about yourself. Me acuesto a las 10 de la noche. All right, just a little bit more practice. Follow along with me and write these down in your notes so that way you're able to look back and see what type of sentence is reflexive and which is not. Me pongo los lentes porque no puedo ver. ¿Es reflexivo? Hopefully you guys can see that this is a reflexive statement. Pongo is your verb, meaning to put on. And it has that reflexive pronoun that fits the conjugated verb in the yo form. Me pongo, I put on myself. I put on my glasses because I cannot see. Or I'm unable to see. María levanta a su hermana. ¿Es reflexivo? No. Hopefully you guys can are able to point out that this verb, levanta, is conjugated to fit Maria, but there's no reflexive pronoun. Notice that there's no reflexive pronoun, and the person that is receiving the action is su hermana, her sister. So Maria wakes her sister, or gets her sister up. Pablo y Felipe se relajan después de la escuela. ¿Es reflexivo? Hopefully you guys can point out that yes, this statement is reflexive. You have this verb, relajan, meaning to relax, and the reflexive pronoun that fits, Pablo and Felipe. So this statement is stating that Pablo and Felipe relax after school. They themselves relax after school. Miguel se afeita antes de salir con su novia. ¿Es reflexivo? Hopefully you guys are able to point the verb out in the statement afeita, which comes from the verb afeitarse, to shave oneself. All right, it is reflexive. It has a reflexive pronoun. So it's saying Miguel shaves himself antes de, that's one of your special vocabulary words, before he leaves or goes out con su novia, with his girlfriend. José pone los libros sobre la mesa. ¿Es reflexivo? No, it's not. Hopefully you guys are able to point the verb out. Poner, el pone, and the object that is receiving the action is los libros. He puts the books sobre la mesa, on top of the table. There's not a reflexive pronoun, and he's not receiving the action himself. Hopefully this is getting easier. La muchacha maquilla la actriz. La muchacha maquilla la actriz. ¿Es reflexivo? All right, so hopefully everybody chose that it is not. No es reflexivo. There's not a reflexive pronoun, and the person that is receiving the action is la actriz, the actress. So la muchacha, the girl, makes up the actress. And then we have the last one here. Te duele la espalda. Te duele la espalda. ¿Es reflexivo? All right, so this is a tricky one. Hopefully you guys were able to point out that it is not reflexive. I want you guys to take a look at this verb, duele. It comes from the verb doler, and it's part of your list of verbs that are like the verb gustar. So this particular sentence is not reflexive. If you look at the verb duele, it is not conjugated to fit this reflexive pronoun, if that were the reflexive pronoun. In this case, it is not a reflexive pronoun, but it's an indirect object pronoun. You'd want to go back to your gustar part of the module where it talks about indirect object pronouns and then the verbs that are like gustar. So right here it's saying the back hurts you. Remember that with gustar, the the thing that you like or dislike is the subject of the sentence, gustar is your verb, and then the pronoun is your indirect object pronoun. So, te duele la espalda. One simple way to really be able to look for this, guys, is looking at the verb. If this were to fit the pronoun, it would say dueles with the es in the tu form, conjugate in the tu form, but it's not. So these do not match, giving you that clue that it is not reflexive. All right, guys. So I hope you were able to learn a lot about reflexive verbs. Make sure that you're using this video and that you've taken notes. If you need to go back and look over it, do that. If you have any questions about what you've seen or need something to be made clear, please feel free to message me or your instructor. Hasta luego.